There's been a battle wagered online, receiver versus running back. Which one is the biggest need for the Cleveland Browns? We'll let you know which one of us thinks running back, which one of us thinks receiver, and we'll hash it out here on this episode of the Locked On Browns podcast.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound, LGB on the LOB, the Locked On Browns podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Appreciate all of you, the new traffic coming this way with draft season. Look, 5 days a week, guys, every week. Talking what? I can't even do that type of math, but 52 weeks times 5, you can all figure out how many episodes of Locked On Browns will be here for you, to the day oneers who make Locked On Browns what it is. We appreciate you all. The YouTube channel, make sure you're subscribed. Notifications on. A lot of content coming here over the next 4 or 5, 6 days with the NFL draft 48 hours away. The audio listeners, go to your favorite podcast platform. We are always there. We are always free. Your host, Jeff Lloyd, at Jeff_LJ_Lloyd. Your other co-host, Mr. Garrett Bush, at GBush91. If you guys didn't get to see, Garrett had an amazing opportunity yesterday. It's always nice to go back to your hometown, but it's always nice when your hometown is home of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and they kind of ask you to come speak. So, Garrett got to, fulfill kind of like a little boy fantasy yesterday, and, happy for him. Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show panelist, Monday through Friday, 11 to 1, live on YouTube. Of course, the Barbershop, 92.3 The Fan, on-air personality, Saturday mornings. Make sure you're checking all that out. Garrett, we're getting close. It's about the time of the Carolina Panthers are on the clock. And that's not what we're concerned about. We're concerned about the Cleveland Browns. But tell the fine folks what's in store today.
Well, today we'll get into what are the Cleveland Browns looking to get on this roster. There are limited roster spots. Could they possibly be using some of the late 2023 round roster spots to kind of redshirt players? We'll talk about a guy that is on that list of guys that could be potentially, I would say, draft and hide in terms of football practice, and we'll see if he's going to be available for the Browns to kind of put on the roster and move to 2024. We will definitely get into some conversation about should the Cleveland Browns move up guaranteed to round number 2. 2 picks in the third round. We'll let you know a couple of names that really could be enticing for the Cleveland Browns to jump up and get in the second round if they want to package those picks, and what guys could be on that short list of players that they go get. But first, Jeff, we got to get into the conversation. We've seen it on Twitter. We've seen it around a lot. It is whether or not the Cleveland Browns' biggest need, if they are going to do something like that, should be at wide receiver or should that be at running back. Now, when you take a look at it, there's a lot of different nuances to the conversation, and it usually surrounds and swirls around Nick Chubb. Now, last year, Jeff, we talked about it a lot, especially in some of those post-game shows. Is Nick Chubb getting enough carries? Is Nick Chubb getting enough touches? What the offense is going to look like? And with this year, with Deshaun Watson taking the helm for 17 games, it looks like it's going to be more of a wide open offense. There's a lot of people that have been down on the running back position in terms of whether they want to spend higher draft capital to put behind Nick Chubb and Jerome Ford. And I think it all goes to who do you have faith in? Who do you like? If you like Jerome Ford, you say, well, why would we make a pick? If you like, Anthony Bell as a receiver, or you like Schwartz, that you're going to give him another chance, you would say, why would I waste another high pick on a receiver when we don't know if those guys are going to be able to get on the field? So in terms of the receiver, coming from my perspective, I'll take the receiver portion of this and say, look, there's a couple of people out here, a lot of guys don't really believe in David Bell. He has his shortcomings. I will say that when they threw the ball to him, for the most part, he caught the rock. That's something that Anthony Schwartz can't say. If Anthony Schwartz had that, he'd be ready to go. So, he did do that. However, Jeff, there are some shortcomings in his game. One is the speed factor. He is a slot receiver, but he runs a 4.6, 4.7. He's not a change of direction guy, not going to make guys miss. Not a big guy, not going to have run after catch, and do things like that. He's not really a huge target. And so he's not going to be a target that you throw the ball into an end zone. He's not going to high point the ball. He's not a jump ball fade type receiver. He is just your run of the mill. He is a dependable Hollywood Higgins type. Like, he's one of those guys that he'll run his routes. He might be a better practice player. Hands are good. But some people may say, look, I want to go get another guy that's upgraded that position, because I don't believe that it's going to be him and Anthony Schwartz in that slot position. And I would like to go get a guy that's upgraded at that position if we are going to be throwing the football. So from the receiver standpoint, I can see why someone would say wide receiver would be the most important position, even though it looks like that room is pretty much packed. It's pretty much stacked. If you look at it, they lost Woods, right? They lost Michael Woods. However, you got Mark Cooper, you got Elijah Moore, you got Donovan Peoples-Jones. You still have guys like what's the name? Goodwin. You still have him, so you take that's 4 right there. You got Anthony Schwartz. We don't know if he's going to make the team or not, and you got David Bell. That's 7 guys right there, even if you're missing Michael Woods. So another guy coming in would be still 7 receivers, and I don't think you carry 7 receivers on this roster, and anybody you put in the practice squad may not make it. So that's why people would think that you might want to go receiver. Jeff, you make the case for why it is that people see it as a running back position, which is going to be something that they need to use that pick on.
Well, first things first, if you want to call this a cold day in HELL, where Jeff Floyd does not defend the wide receiver position, yeah, I guess we've reached that, guys. Because look, here is the thing. What is the dream personnel for Deshaun Watson under center for the Cleveland Browns? It is Amari Cooper. It is Elijah Moore. It's Donovan Peoples-Jones. It's David Njoku, and it's Nick Chubb. That's your 5. You want on the field as many reps as possible with Deshaun Watson. Look, the tight end Akins, I get it. You got to go tight end sets. They're going to go tight end sets. Now, out of those top 3, the Browns don't go a lot of 4 and 5 wide receiver sets. Maybe that changes a little bit this year. Maybe it doesn't. But look, Goodwin in the mix, correct? Yes. David Bell possibly in the mix. Yes. Jacorian Grant is still here. Do I think he makes this team? No. But in the mix. Anthony Schwartz in the mix. Darden, the wide receiver that they brought in last year off of waivers. There are like 5-6 guys currently, all already trying to be wide receiver, maybe 4, 5, or 6. Now, we go to the running back room, and I'm sure everyone listening will agree. If Nick Chubb has to miss time, look, Jerome Ford, you go back to the movie A Few Good Men and the whole thing. You know it. It's not about what I know. It's about what I can prove. Jerome Ford has 8 NFL carries. So, if you think he's a Hall of Famer one day, or we think he's a robust bum, 8 carries is no way that we can prove anything about Jerome Ford. Look, I think Jerome Ford is going to be a good player. Do I think Jerome Ford can step in and be the full-time running back if something happens to Nick Chubb? Can't prove it. So, therefore, I cannot give you an answer. And the other thing is, if Nick Chubb are to miss time, are we sure one running back is going to be able to come in and fulfill the need for the Cleveland Browns that you get week in, week out, year in, year out from Nick Chubb? The other part is where it gets sticky is if Nick Chubb has a phenomenal year, everybody, we want to see Nick Chubb win a rushing title. Okay, if Nick Chubb wins the rushing title, what does Nick Chubb have left in those legs for 3 playoff games? A divisional playoff game, hopefully an AFC title game, and possibly a Super Bowl. You want Nick Chubb. You're going to expect the best of Nick Chubb after a 17-game regular season and then 3 more playoff games They got to ease the load. It's got to be more of a balancing act there. You can balance this wide receiver room the way it currently is constructed. You can. But you can't have Nick going 20 to 25, 17 games, and then all of a sudden, and God forbid they don't win the division, so they got to play a wild card. So then it's a 4-game. It's a lot to ask of anybody. As much as you think Nick Chubb is Superman, that is a lot to ask of him. So for me, look, I never not want to side on the wide receiver of any conversation. But I think you need to seriously consider that running back is the more important element right now for the Browns, just because there's going to be already 13 guys at OTAs. And there's going to be a wide receiver or two added, whether they draft him, whether they bring him in, undrafted free agent, all that. There's plenty of wide receivers. And there's plenty of guys who could end up, look, Anthony Schwartz in a freak world could maybe end up making this roster. But once you say Nick Chubb, once you say Jerome Ford, blank is slate in that room after that. And that position is going to be just as important as the other positions because Deshaun Watson's going to throw the ball to running backs too.
Yeah, I think, I do think that they'll take a quarterback. I think they'll take a running back. They'll get some of those guys later on in draft. It's just all about this. Where can you find the guy that you feel like you're comfortable? Like, so,
and them, they're all about the match and everything else fitting up. So we can have these arguments. Andrew Berry's still going to do his business.
Yeah, it's all about whether or not they get one late or one early. And even if there was a guy, I don't even think they would consider taking a running back high with their first pick just because they feel like they can get a guy maybe in the 5th round, 6th round, 7th round. I think they will take a quarterback, or a running back. I also think they'll take a receiver. It just all depends on who's the highest version of that player on their board at that time. I think it's a little tricky. And coming up in the next segment, we'll talk about that philosophy. Which players would they move up to get in the 2nd round if they did find that one of those players had fallen to them and they had them very high, maybe a 2nd round grade, early 2nd, late 1st round grade, and they're on the board, on the clock. Where would they jump up to get one of those individuals? That we'll talk about that coming up a little bit in this segment.
No doubt, Jeff Lloyd, Garrett Bush, your latest Locked On Browns. If you're looking for a delicious snack but do not want all the sugar and calories, then you need to be the best tasting protein bar ever built. You got to try this. If you're like me and you want to make a healthier snack choices, but you don't want to compromise on taste, I've got just the thing for you. Built Bars and Built Puffs. Built Bars are healthy and they taste amazing. Seriously, they taste so amazing you won't think they're good for you. You got to try this. What makes Built Bars so good? Well, for starters, they are covered in 100% real dark chocolate. That's right, real chocolate. And they come in unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and cookies and cream. And now you don't need to wait to get a box. For years, we've been talking about ordering Built Bars at Built.com, but now you can get them at your local Walmart or Sam's Club, while you can still get your specialty flavors still at Built.com. That's right. Head to your nearest Walmart today. Walk to the pharmacy section and grab yourself a box of Built Bars. You can pick up a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puff. If you're close to Sam's Club, run in, get a 13-bar box with our hit flavors, brownie batter puff and churro puff. And guys, gals, you can thank me later.
Welcome back to the Locked On Browns podcast, your team every single day. Jeff Lloyd, Garrett Bush. Let's talk about this, Jeff. We talked about what we may look at in the 3rd round. Is this going to be a draft where you can move up and get somebody that is on your wish list? When you're drafting 3rd, right, in the 3rd round, we talked about it before we got on the air. It's one of those things where you're not even in the mix for the first 2 or 3 days. And
like you go to the restaurant and like you've seen all the specials and like, yeah, we're out of the filet mignon. Yeah, the chicken marsala, that's gone.
That's gone.
It's like you gotta temper your expectations as they've had. No doubt.
Listen, the rolls. We don't have any rolls anymore. We're just going to the wheat bread. Like, yeah,
Caesar salad. Nah, man, we got some green bag stuff in the back. We'll throw it in the bowl for you.
It hurts you a little bit, but there are some times where you're sitting there and you're letting the draft come to you. And I think this may be a chance with this because there's a lot of good players that are going to get moved down. I think there'll be five quarterbacks possibly taken in the first 2 rounds. And when guys are jockeying and moving up, you get a lot of good players that aren't, I would say, premium positions that can, move around and jump out at you. Guys that are linebackers, guys that may be edge rushers, right? Guys that could be individuals who, we talked about receiver, we talked about running back as well. That could possibly, and then by the way, this is a really big, this is a big tight end draft. This is a really deep draft when it comes to tight ends. Now, it just so happens to happen that the Browns do have, two pretty good tight ends, but we've been looking at this thing from Harrison Bryant's perspective, which is going to be an uphill battle a little bit. So what are the dudes? I would move up. I would figure it out because I take a look at the roster, and we've already looked at receiver, and offensive line is another one. Like Nick Harris is a really good big football player. Guess what? He's not starting next year as we look at it. They brought back, did they bring back Froholt too? They didn't bring him back?
No, sir. Arizona Cardinal. He chased the assistant coach to Arizona.
There you go. Haagen-Dazs got his payday out in
Haagen-Dazs, whatever you want to call him. Yeah, my man gone.
Hey, offensive line is deep. It's going to be hard to make the team from the O-line. The corners and safeties look like they got their top 3 already ready to go. So there's not too many places where you can make this squad. For me, if I get somebody who has a late second round, a late first round pick, and they have that on their board, I'm looking to move up because I think I can make my team better if I can get a guy that is going to make the team rather than bringing in a bunch of dudes with rookie free agents and having a long shot to make the team. So I definitely move up. And as a matter of fact, I'm expecting them to move up at least to try to do something in order to make the roster better from that perspective.
Look, I'm in on the trade up because, and now and obviously the listeners here of Locked On Browns, you guys are phenomenal. All the new listeners, we appreciate you, the day oneers, of course. But you get to this 74 point, and if you're looking at top 100 boards, or you're looking at positional rankings, or you're running some mock draft simulators, you get to that 74, and hey, guess what? Oh, I like this defensive back, this safety. I like this wide receiver. I like this running back. But none of these are the top priorities right now. The top priorities are finishing out this defensive tackle and this defensive end room. And if you're going at it from that perspective, it's kind of like you went out and you're trying to have a good time, just not vibing it, man. It's just not necessarily there. So now the opportunity for trading up, similar to 2 years ago for Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Keanu Benton, this is a defensive tackle with great athleticism, wrestling background, so he knows his leverage. He knows how to, get engaged and get out of being engaged. He is a guy where the pass rush plus could be there. This is a guy you look at Jim Schwartz and say, Jim Schwartz could make this dude a dude. Now, Zach Pickens, another player, a good interior piece that the Browns absolutely need. Derek Hall, edge rusher out of Auburn, 6'4", 260, tested phenomenally. We got to see him run around doing linebacker drills, which he probably never done before in his life, but he looked good at the combine doing it. And even though Auburn's defense was bad, and running backs were going 12, 13 yards on him on a carry, Derek Hall was the guy dragging him down from behind 12, 13 yards down the field. That shows me we got a guy who's highly athletic. The up level for him to grow into a player is there. And he's just got heart and determination, which, you just can't teach it. That stuff is intangible. But we'll get to a wide receiver here, even though I may have poo-pooed it a little earlier. Look, Kayshon Boutte out of LSU. This kid, look, did he test well? No. Did his career end well at LSU? No, it did not. Does he have absolute stinking raw talent? And if I'm looking at a wide receiver here, and any way I will look at this is there's the potential after 2023 that maybe Amari Cooper isn't here anymore. And 2023 will tell the tale, obviously, for Amari Cooper. But do I look at a guy who can come in and be part of a 3-man room? So if you're telling me you possibly lose Amari Cooper, but maybe now Elijah Moore gets elevated a little bit, they extend Donovan Peoples-Jones, and now all of a sudden Kayshon Boutte is maybe viewed as the third wide receiver of that group. This kid's got it. He does. It's on the field, between the lines, catching the football, everything checks. In between here, we don't get that access. So I can't sit down with Kayshon Boutte and say, you know what? I wouldn't trust this kid. We don't get to know that stuff. The Browns do. The Browns can do their due diligence. So, but a player like that, and the thing is if it doesn't work out with Kayshon Boutte, it's not going to kill me. It's not. If I can get D-tackle satisfied and I can handle the rest of the stuff I got to do, if I took a gamble on a player who's got upside, legit upside, does he achieve it? And we can say that about every player in this draft. Obviously, some of them have a better propensity to succeed than maybe a guy like Kayshon Boutte does. But you're tearing it up in the LSU in the SEC, and then all of a sudden your quarterback play garbage, to be nice.
Yeah, that really.
And it's hard to stay motivated. It's hard to stay motivated. But you tell this kid, yo, man, you come to Cleveland. That's Deshaun Watson over there. You're right. You now can write your own ticket, and maybe guy gets a new lease on life. But those are guys for me where if you're talking about possibility of trading up, those are players that definitely could probably, kind of tickle the fancy a little bit. And I know everybody, Kayshon Boutte, the athleticism, but kid's 20 years old. 20. So, yeah, as much that can be a detriment as a kid who's made maybe some bad decisions, it also tells me, you want to know what? Maybe once he gets some real money, he's going to be the opposite and say, you want to know what? Oh, damn. Oh, damn. Look at this. Look at the opportunity I got in front of me. I got a guy, quarterback, making $230 million. That's how much his team invested in him. And they think I can be part of his success.
Yeah, when you look at him, I like him. He was really highly touted coming out. One of the 5-star guys coming out in LSU, and LSU has always had a problem. Besides Joe Burrow, who was not their homegrown talent. I mean, he's a transfer.
Love it.
Little dig, just a little something like. They haven't found quarterbacks. They have not turned quarterbacks. They do not have a pro-ready system. Some of the guys that they had at receiver, I mean, you had Jarvis Landry and Odell on the same team in college. They should have been unstoppable if they'd had a quarterback who could have done anything. Kayshon Boutte is a guy that I think could possibly do something. He's a younger player, 20 years old. I think he can grow into some things. And those are the type players that you can move up on upside. I think those are the guys that you want to move up and flash on. I don't want to move up and grab a guy who's 30. Not saying anything in the 25s. I'm cool. Like, these is grown men. We talked about that a little bit too. The kid from Tennessee, the quarterback that we talked to, the draft guy, and he's like, well, he tore his ACL. He's already 25. So that means by the time he plays any games, he's going to be 20. I'm like, he old as me. No, we ain't playing. No, we cool. We going to let that ride. So
dude walked into the league with an AALP card.
Yeah, he already got his Buckeye card. So, but that's a good move. And I'd like to see players like that. I'm a big advocate of the Browns moving up in the second round to get somebody with some real upside.
No doubt about it. We're going to switch it up here. And then with this thought process of trading up, then there is the thought process, and I don't want to say punting, but maybe looking at some of the 2023 picks with the thought process more of 2024. Jeff Lloyd, G. Bush, continuing to crush it here for you all. Appreciate you all for being here. Your latest Locked On Browns. To all the new traffic here. Obviously this week, the offseason always brings a ton of new listeners. Garrett and I are here every single day, Monday through Friday, 52 weeks a year. So appreciate you all. Stick around. Make sure you subscribe. Notifications on. You audio listeners, wherever your favorite podcast platform is, make sure you're checking out Locked On Browns. Always available, always free.
Jeff, right back into this segment. There's always two opposite ends of a coin, right? We talk about moving up, possibly packaging picks up in the third round to get up to the second round to find somebody with upside. But you can also do what, a lot of good teams do. I mean, A lot of teams like to have picks in the next year's draft. And by the way, these guys and scouts are always out there moving around and trying to move pieces, and they're always scouting guys for next year. And one of the realities is everybody can't make the squad. Everybody's not going to make the squad this year. There's only so many practice squad players that you can have out there as well. So sometimes you draft a guy who may not necessarily be ready to play for you in 2023. And maybe you get a guy that is showing you something that's going to drop down significantly because of a major injury, and you're willing to, get your medical squad to look at it and say, listen, this guy going to be able to come back very strong. If you get everything checks out and things work out for yourself, what you could do is then you can almost redshirt a guy and you say, okay, well, look, we got limited roster spots. Let's get a guy who we thought had tremendous talent, a guy that should have been going earlier in the draft, but he got hurt. Let's take a flyer on him, redshirt him, get him in here with some of our trainers, some of our professional strength conditioning teams and team doctors, and see if we can not get this guy up to speed and kind of redshirt him and get him back rehabilitated in the right way with a rate program, with some of the nutrition programs people have. So you can do that with certain guys, and that's something that the Baltimore Ravens have done. With defensive ends, it seems like they take a defensive end like that.
They did with the kid from Michigan last year, Jabo.
Yeah, Jabo. Yep. That's exactly what they did. And they basically just redshirted him. So there's a couple of guys that would fit that description for the Browns. And we talked about the kid from USC who, I thought he's a monster. I think, didn't he end up coming in? He tore his ACL while he was doing the drills.
Yep.
And he then came in, and I think he benched the most of anybody.
He pounded out like 33 reps. Yeah, it was like a sick number.
Reps with no leg, no base. Your core is kind of, I've torn both my ACLs, so I know you can bench, but I mean, in no way, shape, or form are you at 100%. So just for him to come in there and do that just shows what kind of strength he has and what kind of intense player he is, because he stayed there. He could have left and had surgery, but he wanted to finish the rest of the combine the right way, and I think he really helped himself as far as draft status.
Well, you make a statement there, like I am a guy who is, you're going to have to shut me physically down. I'm not going to quit. So to blow your ACL out, and it was less than 24 hours, you come walking in on crutches, you lay down on the bench, you say, line it up, let's go. And you pound out the reps he did. And look, for the Browns, Andrew Voorhees, interior player. Look, you brought back Posick, Wyatt Teller, we don't, with Joel, as long as he wants to be here, he's more than welcome to be here. But you never know with any of these guys. So if you're telling me I can draft a guy like Andrew Voorhees and say, look, this is going to be your path. We're going to rehab you. We're going to get you better. We're going to get you right. Go meet Sione Takitaki. He's going through this situation right now. He's already back up 5 months later, running around, limber, looking good. So we can put the path in front of you. Your chance to play in 2023 probably isn't there, but you're getting drafted. You're getting paid. You're being brought into a good organization locker room-wise. If I can do that with one of these picks this year, with the amount of picks the Browns have, looking at what can realistically make the roster, that's just smart business. If you want to punt a pick or two, and normally what the deal is, you trade one day 3 pick for a pick the next year, 1 round later, and where the Browns maybe the needs could be bigger in 2024, and you're trying to really get into that top 40, or God forbid, you're trying to spend all you can and maybe get in round 1. It gives you a little bit more ammunition to do that. But to get a player like Andrew Voorhees with the sole intention of getting them ready, getting them right, and we'll see you in 2024, and maybe we're going to have a spot for you. Look, Jedrick Wills is still not signed. It has still not been picked up, a 5th-year option. We don't know how that'll work out. The Browns got to make that decision by Monday. But you got to think, if we're this far in the game, maybe they're not that confident in it. So if you can find an offensive lineman here that you can just stash away, get ready, get right, who you think is a good player once he gets his knee right, it's just doing good business. A lot of options here. Trade up, trade down, who to draft, who not to draft, Andrew Berry, as much as I'd love to have your job, and I say I'd love to be part of be a general manager during the NFL draft, the closer and closer we get to kicking this off is when I back away and be like, oh, at G Bush 91, Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show panelist, Monday through Friday, 11 to 1 live on YouTube. If you guys didn't see it yesterday, check out some articles been written. Garrett with an 8 Dream appearance yesterday, going back to his hometown, also home of the NFL Pro Football Hall of Fame, getting there, speak in front of people. Just a great day for your boy, obviously. On-air personality, 923 The Fan. Garrett will be popping Saturday morning. The Duke and Knee Jerk on 923 The Fan. It could be against the Browns draft picks. It could be the Cavs. Could be the Guardians. You never know who's going to get it. Either way, good or bad. And that is the joy of at G Bush 91, Garrett Bush. Myself, Jeff Lloyd, at Jeff_LJ_Lloyd. The show at Locked On Browns on the YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe. You get your notifications on. Again, a ton of content coming this week. So all the new listeners as you navigate here looking for draft talk, we're here 5 days a week. We are here 52 weeks a year. Pre-game, post-game, everything in between. We got you covered. So stick around. Make sure you subscribe. Notifications on. Audio, folks, wherever you get your podcast, make sure you're checking us out. We're always available, always free. Ton of stuff covered here today. Another one tomorrow. More coming in the rest of the week as the 2023 NFL Draft is upon us. This has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. LGB on the LOB. Let's go, Browns.